Welcome to another episode of Discourse. On this episode, we're going to be ranking and reviewing all 9 Every Time I Die albums. My name is Nathan, and on this episode, Kyle's back. Jeff is back. And we got a very special guest. We got Ryan from Blindwolf. Ryan, thank you for being here. How are you doing, man?
I am doing great. Also, thank you for having me.
Of course. So, for anyone who might be unfamiliar.
What the heck? That's it?
Kyle?
You're not going to ask me. You're not going to ask the prodigal son how he's doing?
You're right. Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, actually. Thanks for having me back. I really appreciate it. I think we can move on now.
It's my pleasure.
Jeff went on. We forced him into a leave because he was actually putting too much time into this podcast and not studying for med school. So we forced him to study for med school. All right, Nathan.
We told him to go on sabbatical. But his sabbatical's over. He can return, and he's back.
I'm back and more excited than ever.
And you're back for, I think, a great episode.
Yeah,
I
agree. Oh, man, I agree.
If I'm being honest, when I first discovered you guys, I had this episode in mind. So I feel like I manifested this. And I'm not even joking you. I swear to God, I literally was like, if I ever do this, I know this is what we're going to do.
Well, it's funny you say that because you reached out, or we connected somehow on Twitter, and we started talking about doing an episode. And you said, I know what band I want to do. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, this is going to be our Every Time I Die episode, isn't it? And then you said, Every Time I Die. Yeah, I was like, this is going to be the one. You know, I can hear some similarities sonically between Every Time I Die and Blindwolf. And so I was like, this is going to be the one. This is it.
That is a compliment. Wow.
I felt it in my bones.
Okay. No, you're not wrong. That's, I mean, definitely one of my favorite bands. Our guitar player, Minju, that writes pretty much everything. It is one of his favorite. He has them tattooed on him. So he is a bigger fan than me, apparently. But yeah.
Yeah, there's that southern style of like metalcore riffing that y'all have incorporated really since kind of the beginning with those first singles or the EP.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I could hear it and I felt it in my bones that this is going to be the one. And this is an episode that I've personally been waiting on for quite a while because I love Every Time I Die.
Hell yeah.
So to dig in a little more for anyone who's kind of maybe unfamiliar, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your band that we've already kind of spoken on a little bit?
My name is Ryan. I am the vocalist, screamer guy, whatever you want to call it, of Blindwolf. I don't really know what else much to say about it other than that. We just put out an album back in March, so if you guys have never heard of us and you're listening to this podcast right now, that'd be awesome if you guys go listen. It's probably the most proud I've ever been of putting out music. I've been doing music since I was 14 years old. And I feel like every time a band puts out a new thing, you're like, this is the most proud I've ever been. But this, I don't know, it is the same thing. And I really feel like this is the first time I've been like, this is it. This is the sound I've been wanting to do for so long. And we finally honed our craft on this one, I really feel like.
Yeah, the album's called Noble Death. You know, for anyone who may want to go check it out, Noble Death by Blindwolf. It's y'all's debut LP. I mean,
yes.
How does it feel? You said you feel like you've honed in your craft a little bit. How does it feel to have that out in the world now?
It feels good because, like I said, I feel like this is just the most confident I've felt about the music that I've done. Me and our guitar player Minju, I've been in a band with him since high school, and I'm 31 now. So we've been doing music for just so long, and I just feel like over 15 plus years now, it's whenever we put something out, it's just never felt like, it's always felt like we could do better. And this was like the first time where I was like, yes, this is it. It only took 15 years apparently, but we worked with a great producer named Mike Som out of LA, and he's great too, and he really helped hone in our sound. And it's just, yeah, I'm stoked on it, man. And people seem to like it on, the internet says it's good apparently. So
I tend to agree with the internet on that. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I mean, for an LP,
thank you,
or for a debut LP, especially, like, I feel like it's leaps and bounds ahead of a lot of debut LPs that I've heard. It's excellent.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any, like, okay, well, I guess I'll ask this. What's your favorite track on the album? If you had to pick one for someone to check out, what would that be?
Just one?
Just one.
Can I do two? Can I do two? Oh, okay, fuck. Okay, well, one, I think, okay. I think Personality Glitch is the best song for everyone to listen to that's never heard us before. Because it's just it gets just straight to the point. It just has what you need to hear. It's a pretty quick song. I think it's only like 2.5 minutes or something like that. And it's just, I feel like that's the song. If people hear it, they're going to want to go, okay, let me check out what else is on here. There is another song I want to say, but I won't. You said one, so I'll stop myself.
I'll give it to you. What is it?
Wastrel.
Yeah.
It's the last
heater.
It's the last track. It's a great. So it has a little bit of everything. It has a little bit of a catchy little chorus, kind of. I actually sing on it a little bit, which is something I don't normally do. But our producer was like, "We're running it, and it sounds good." So I was like, "All right."
Yeah, it's great. I'm a bit of a hedonist truther myself, to be quite honest with you.
Really? Okay, Minju, our Minju is gonna love that you said that, because that's probably his favorite song, and he doesn't like that. That's not my favorite song.
It's so good. And like, really, that
Thank you, dude. Hell yeah.
That 3-song run right there is really fantastic.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. And then I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
This being kind of, an album that you feel super proud of, are there any subtle details on the album that you're particularly proud of, or that you think people may not have noticed? And if not, what's your personal favorite detail on the entire album? Doesn't have to be something super niche or anything like that.
I think the interlude track we did was really cool, because I usually think that interludes are kind of like cheesy and just kind of a cop out of a way for bands to like add an extra track. But
Agreed.
I like that we not necessarily took our time with the interlude, but we took our time in the sense that we made sure the interlude actually led into the next song in a way, which is, it's not like we're the first ones to ever do that. Bands do that all the time. But when it's just some random thing out of nowhere to add a track, I kind of don't like that. And I feel like we actually did well with making it be a part of the album that you can just listen to, continue, like from start to finish, it just flows. And the interlude actually helped it flow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. And what is the meaning behind 119104?
So, okay. Oh my God, Minju's going to hate me for this. Okay, so I forget what the name of the book is, but Minju read a book, and it's basically about the author, the guy that wrote it was a prisoner in a Nazi camp somewhere, and he basically survived, but I think he went twice, is what Minju told me. And in each time he just kept having to like kind of feel like, oh, I'm going to get through this. And he's like, that's the only hope I had, was just trying to believe that I'd actually make it out of this. And then he did. And that number is like his prisoner number. I don't know the right phrase for it. I feel like I'm going to get flamed for this online for not knowing what the exact term for that is. But that was his like prisoner ID when he was in Auschwitz, or I think he was in Auschwitz.
Wow. That's super interesting.
That's where that came from. And I feel like that hit Minju really hard, because I feel like a lot of the meaning behind the album was just kind of like feeling you're at your lowest point, but there's still some sort of hope in things, I guess, if you want to sum it up in just a few words.
Yeah, for sure. Kyle, I know you got a question over there.
I have a question. We were talking about our favorite songs. I'm partial to Noble Death. That song is unbelievable. And I've never seen a band market a song or an LP with a beer. Tell me how that happened with the Noble Death beer and Metabolic Brewing.
I am so glad you asked this question. Holy shit. Okay. Do you want the full back? Can I get into this a little bit? Do we have time for that? Is that fine?
Please do.
I wish you would. Please.
Okay, perfect. My girlfriend, one of her best friends, is a guy named David Fresco. He owns Metabolic Brewing in Ontario, California. If anyone lives anywhere near that area that is listening to this episode, go check it out. He makes amazing beer. I just met him through her, and the whole time I've known him, he's been just talking about how he's going to open up this brewery. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. Finally gets done. Like I said, he brews amazing. And I'm not just saying that because he's my friend. If I actually thought his beer sucked, I'd tell him to his face because I feel like that's what good friends do, is you're like, hey, man, this kind of sucks. But he actually brews amazing beer. And then when it all kind of happened and when we were like kind of wrapping up, like getting like the final like takes of the album, and me and Minju just kind of were like, oh, that'd be cool if he brewed a beer for us and whatever. And we just didn't really think of it. And then I just was like, why don't I just ask him? And then he was like, he literally was just like, what kind of beer you want? And we're like, something,
it's awesome.
Literally, it just was, I was like, hey, man, I don't know if this is too much to ask, whatever. I know you got like a business you're running. And he literally just goes, what do you want? Like, what kind?
That's awesome.
And we like lighter. We're more on like the lighter beer side. We're not like the big IPA guys. When I was younger, yeah, like IPAs were like cool because I guess that was what's cool when you're 21 or whatever. But yeah, it was a German lager. It was like 4.8%. It was super crispy, super good. And then what was even cooler is, so we played our album release show at Chain Reaction in Anaheim. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that or not. Super well-known venue in our area, and they sell beer like at the bar there. It's just like in cans, or it's PBRs, Modelo's, or whatever. And we just kind of had an in there, and we're like, oh, what if we can convince them to sell our beer at the bar that night?
So sick.
And it was just like the beer. We were like, like we should ask. We don't want to be asking too much. And they were just like, yeah, sure. And we were like, oh, okay. It was just, yeah, and it literally just all worked out so perfect, and yeah, and that's just kind of how it happened. And David Fresco is a good friend of mine now through my girlfriend, and yeah, man, he's doing well, and his beers are really fucking good, and that's kind of just how it went down.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, that's about as good of an answer as I can imagine. That's a great story.
Yeah, it was super cool, and like we got to go there and can the beers ourselves when like before our album release show. He was like, hey, I need some, and we're like, yeah, man, you're brewing a beer for us. I'll go work for free and can beers. And I mean, he was pouring me beers the whole time we were doing it. It was awesome, and we just it was just so crazy putting the label on, getting the beer in there, like getting the cap on, and just looking at it. You're just like, holy shit, like this is actually happening, and people are gonna buy this, and it went well, and people loved it, and hopefully he got some business off of it. Honestly, that's kind of the main reason we did it. It was to like help each other,
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
Yeah,
definitely a mutually beneficial thing there.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Jeff.
Now, Jeff, I mean, this is your time to shine, buddy. You come back.
You better not screw this one up.
This is what you do.
Yeah. My question is more related to Every Time I Die. Just wanted to learn more about, how did you discover them? What's your relationship with them? And why specifically did you want to talk about them on the show?
You guys are asking the most perfect questions, and I love this. Okay. Once again, I might go on a tangent on this because this is a band that I've been listening to for years. My older brother essentially got me into metal and things like that. When you're young, I don't know if you guys have older brothers or whatever, but when your older brother does something when you're young, you're like, I want to do what he does because he's the coolest or whatever. So it just kind of started with that. And then because of that, I was literally I was like in middle school, and I just had other friends who also had older brothers that listened to like that type of stuff. Because our older brothers were in high school in like 07, 08 when just hardcore and metalcore just kind of like ruled the world at the time, I guess you could say. And it was one of my friends' older brothers who was also friends with my older brother, essentially, who was just like, hey, you should listen to this band if you like these other bands or whatever. And then I'm not going to tell you which album it was that he showed me. And then he just showed it to me, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever heard. This is wild. This is chaotic. And then just pretty much since then, I've been listening to them. And that was 2005. So 20 years. I think 2005, 2006. Yeah, because that's when I was in middle school. So it was about that time. And that's kind of just the lore of it, I guess, is just my friend's older brother showing this to me, knowing that I liked heavier stuff. And I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That's a great answer.
That's awesome.
Every time I was doing that thing for like 20 years. And it was good.
How old are you? How old are you guys?
25.
25? Okay. Am I the oldest in this call?
You are the oldest in this call.
Man, okay. And I'm bald. All right. Well, let's go. All right. Yeah.
Look, to that note, you're gonna be our wise old sage through this discussion. You're gonna lead it. We're gonna go based on your list. When you reveal your number 9, we'll reveal where that is on our list and all that good stuff. But before we do any of that, we do have to plug the social media. And first and foremost, Ryan, where can we find you and Blindwolf on social media?
I mean, you can find me at Ryan Halvaks. My last name's a little weird. Halvaks. Blindwolf, it's just at Blindwolf Band. Pretty much, I think everywhere that's what it's at Blindwolf Band. And that's how you can keep caught up with us. Sorry, my dog is crying right now. Bruce, come inside. I hear that. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, Bruce.
All right, Bruce.
Problem at all.
Yeah.
Bruce, get it together.
That's where you can find us. I know. Hold on, let me get him inside real quick, but continue.
I will continue, and I'll do the housekeeping while you're doing that. If you want to join the discourse, you can follow us on Twitter at discog_pod, on TikTok at discogdiscourse, and on Instagram at discog.discourse. We also have a Patreon that'll be linked below if you're interested in supporting the show. You'll get bonus episodes like the one we'll be recording to go alongside this episode, where we're going to determine the consensus top 10 Every Time I Die songs. Over 100 to choose from. Surely narrowing it down to 10 will be real easy, and we'll all agree on it without any problems. And you'll also, when we don't have guests, be able to vote on what bands we cover. And lastly, as you'll hear later, our second tier donors will be able to read off their lists on the show. Also, if you could give us a 5-star review and leave a like or comment on whatever platform you're listening on, that would help us out a lot. And as always, we have some tweets we want to shout out. If you want to shout out, all you got to do is quote our rankings with your takes. These, of course, are from the System of a Down episode that we just did with Kev from Pulses and Benny from Avoid. If you haven't heard that yet, go check it out. This first shout out is from Diamond Dave hold on, timeout. Technical.
You got it.
I got it. Hey, maybe I'm a little rusty. You need to shake it off. This first shout out for real this time is from French Revolution Sword at Diamond Dave. They said, really difficult trying to quote this without seeing the rankings, but I saw the release notification and sprinted to post this list before listening. This is my favorite band of all time, and my rankings are as follows. 1, Steal This Album. That's crazy to me, but whatever floats your boat. I don't have anyone here who was on that episode to talk about how outrageous that take is, but I love it. 2, Toxicity. 3, Mesmerize, Hypnotize, putting together that double album. And 4, Self-Titled. That's a crazy list, but I love it. This next shout out is from Jay at Constant Headache. They said, do I know more than 3 System of a Down songs? No. Am I going to listen to this entire podcast because I F with the show itself, Benny, and been meaning to check out Pulses? Yes. And I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was very nice, and I appreciated that a lot.
That is nice. So also, check out Pulses. Shout out Kev. Shout out Matt. Shout out all the guys there. They're the best.
Friend of the pod. Also check out Avoid while you're at it.
Yes, agreed.
So fellas, all the housekeeping is done. And that means it's time to really get into this. And so Ryan, we're going to have you lead the discussion. Like I said earlier, be our sage. Okay. And so with that, what is your least favorite Every Time I Die album?
I think that this one, I think that it's a no-brainer. I would be surprised if you guys had this higher than this, but my number 9 is going to be Last Night in Town.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness.
4 for 4.
Wow. What a surprise.
I know, right? Shocker, huh?
Okay, so I haven't listened to this album probably since like 2010 or something like that. I didn't even know this album even like existed for like years, and then I found out about it, and then I listened to it, and I was like, yeah, okay, and then forgot about it. Probably hadn't listened to it since then, and then when I knew I was doing this episode, once again forgot that this album was even kind of here. And then I was like, oh yeah, I got to go back and listen to this. And if I'm being 100% honest, in the last, 2 months when we decided we were going to do this, this was the one that I probably only ran through maybe like 2 or 3 times, and I just was like, that's enough. And I hate saying that because I love Every Time I Die, but it is just the case. Really, I think, let me pull it up. The one or two songs that really only like stood out to me that I was like, okay, I could go back and listen to this was Punch Drunk Punk Rock Romance, and what was the other one? And then I don't even know how to say it. Pincushion. Yeah, Pincushion. Those are the only two that, and even then, it's not like I'd throw this in a playlist and like keep listening to it over and over again. It's just, if someone told me I had to listen to this album only for a week, those would be the probably 2 songs that I'd kind of keep going back to. But then once that week was over, I'd probably not really ever go listen to the album ever again.
Yeah, I think I had a similar experience. Yeah, Kyle, go ahead.
I don't mean to stay too long, but yeah, I agree with that. There's a funny thing with all these debut LPs in this exact time frame with this exact type of music, where the vocals are almost unlistenable, in that just the way it's produced, the way it's mixed, and the way it's delivered, you can tell from the drop if it's going to be kind of that bottom 1 or bottom 2 albums, and that's what's it in for me, is that there are a couple cool moments throughout the album, but at the end of the day, it's hard to listen to. And if it's hard to listen to, it's not going to be an album that's high on my list.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'd echo a lot of that. It's like, I listened to this exactly one time, and I was like, yeah, this doesn't stand a chance against every Time I Die album. And I think a lot of that for me is like, it's like borderline unrecognizable as Every Time I Die. This isn't an album of theirs I had listened to much before, but it's a lot more like traditional scene kind of screamo, or like old school metalcore than I anticipated hearing in this discography whatsoever. Like, it doesn't really have much of that Southern charm or Every Time I Die specific riff style that you kind of come to expect with this band over time. And it's a lot of that's just replaced with like kind of repetitive panic chord breakdowns. And there's some fine riffs on here, but not really in the realm of like great Every Time I Die riffs. Like, for me, the tracks that stood out were The Logic of Crocodiles and Shallow Water Blackout. Ryan, I score every individual song on a scale of 1 to 10. And those both landed a nice crisp 5 out of 10. So I was really high on them.
Well, what's funny is how much I don't listen to this album, or like even I've gone back to it or paid attention to it when I was listening to it. I forgot that I did like Logic of Crocodiles. Not like it was a 10 out of 10 song, but I forgot that song was sick too. So I'm happy you brought that up, because I literally have the album in front of me, and I was looking at the track names, and I read that and I went right past it. And then when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, that song was pretty cool.
Yeah. I have a note here for that song specifically that says, easily some of my favorite riffs and breakdowns on the album.
No,
and that is the extent of what I wrote. So really, really thorough job on this album. But I think that also speaks to how kind of disinterested I was in it. And I knew, like, look, it doesn't stand a chance against everything else. Let's go straight to the bottom. I don't want to linger on it too much because we got 9 albums to talk about.
Yeah, fair enough.
This album just didn't age well, and I think that's putting it lightly. It's just not a good listen, at least in my opinion. And Nathan, like you said, going back to it, it's just not worth listening to. I think the screams are not listenable, and the cleans, when they are there, are definitely really not listenable. So that's why it's at the bottom for me.
It's all just kind of rough. Like, yeah. And so that kind of concludes my thoughts on this album. A real high note.
I got
to
nothing
start
else,
on.
folks. That's I don't really have much else to say.
Look, nowhere to go but up from here.
I don't know, because I feel like I'm about to start getting some people real mad about what's about to happen next.
See, but that's good, because then we'll have some people praising the album potentially. Oh, it's so good.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. So I think let me rephrase that. If anyone on Reddit hears this, they're going to be pissed.
That's true.
One of you is about to be real mad. I know it, because if you like Every Time I Die, and there's 4 people in the room right now, what I'm about to say, one of the 4 of us is going to go, get out. Number 8, Hot Damn.
Hot damn, you are right
Come
for
on,
that.
son.
Come on.
I have it a bit higher.
I also have it at 8.
I have it at 6.
You know what?
Look.
Okay, I'm surprised, because I feel like. Okay, sorry. Continue.
I was just gonna say we got some ball knowers in here. Like, come on, this isn't your Reddit metalcore crowd. This ain't your r/metalcore group.
Jeff, you are rusty. Jeff, you are rusty at 6.
True.
I have my reasons.
I'm excited.
And I'll say, this is where Every Time I Die albums get kind of good.
Well, exactly.
This album is pretty good. Like, there's some good stuff on here.
I think that to me, I feel like this was their first album. I don't feel like Last Night in Town was that. I feel like Hot Damn was their first album. I feel like this was the album where they kind of proved to the world or the listeners or whatever that they could write an album. They didn't do that with Last Night in Town, and that's why I just feel like this is the album that did that for them. Some of the tracks I like on it are I like Off Broadway. I like Godspeed Us to See.
Yes.
Yes. I feel like Floater everyone likes in it because it's a good song. I can't say the name, and you guys already know what it is. Can someone correct me?
Ebola-rama.
Oh my god, I'm
like Ebola.
Ebola
and also Bolarama. Ebola-rama.
Jesus. All right, now that's funny.
Now we get it.
Now we get it. It's like when you say a joke like over and over again. All right, hit the Search Party. That's also a great song. But I mean, that's kind of where I stand on it. If I may, there's kind of a cool story behind this album that I have, is that this came out in 2003. In 2013, in my old band prior to Blindwolf, like I said, I've been doing this since the dinosaur era. We got to open for Every Time I Die when they were doing like a 10-year anniversary of this album. So we opened, and I got to watch them play Hot Damn from front to back on side stage at the old House of Blues in LA, which isn't even there anymore. Yeah, it was sick. And like, I guess I was never the biggest fan of this album in particular, but just getting to like watch them from the side and just watch the crowd go crazy, it was cool.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Jeff, I'll throw it over to you because you're a little bit higher on this, and then Kyle and I can come in bring it back down.
Sure. I actually really, really enjoyed this album. I think it's really, really a fun listen. The first time I listened to it, I didn't expect to like it as much as I did. And I think it's because this album has a lot of character to it, which I think I had a stereotype in my head of kind of looking at older albums in bands and thinking that it would just kind of be like a flyover album, listen to it and move on. But this one kind of sucked me in. And I think the reason was because compared to Last Night in Town, the cleans that they use throughout the album add a lot of great character to a lot of these songs. Although they don't do the genre bending like they do later that really made me fall in love with Every Time I Die, I still think you find some moments like that in here. Like I've Been Gone for a Long Time is a song, like a really standout song for me in that sense. And, they do the heavy stuff really well, like Floater, Ebola-rama, like we said. Those songs just are great, hardcore, classic Every Time I Die heaviness. But I think there's a rawness to this album that still exists. I don't think it's the best produced album, but I actually think that kind of plays into its into its favor a little bit, just because. And as you'll see later, there's a couple albums where I feel like the production actually does it a disservice. And so, as much as I love Hot Damn and I think it's a good album, the ones below it I think have their shortcomings, and that's why I have this one a little higher.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the rawness to this album. Like, yeah, you know, sometimes poor production, poor vocals, all that, and like even a little sloppy instrumentation here and there can hold an album back, especially for young bands. But here it's almost like the perfect balance of yeah, it's rough around the edges, but it's like right in the sweet spot of where that kind of enhances the listening experience.
Exactly.
This album is just explosive, and this is, like I said, like kind of the start of good Every Time I Die. And all of my favorite songs we've already kind of mentioned. I've Been Gone a Long Time. You get some of that cowbell in there, which obviously becomes like a staple of Every Time I Die sound in some senses. But then like Godspeed Us to the Sea is insane. Floater, Ebola-Rama, and Hit of the Search Party is just a crazy stretch of songs. And obviously there's a little interlude in between them. But like, oh my gosh, like the breakdowns hit. The riffs hit. There's a big jump from Last Night in Town to this album. And it's easy to see why this is a cult classic Every Time I Die album, or beloved on Reddit. Like, I get it. I see why people like this. And if I'm being honest, I like it quite a bit too. Just there's a lot of really exceptional music in this discography that kind of pushes this album down the list.
Yeah, I think that this album is closer to Last Night in Town than what you guys are making it out to be. I think She's My Rushmore is really the only song that I enjoy on this album. But outside of that, the production lacks, the songwriting lacks, and I still feel like they're obviously finding their footing. And I don't think this is closer to the top than, or like closer to, man, this is great stuff, than it is to Last Night in Town. I think it's a step forward from Last Night in Town, but like, this is not a special album in my opinion.
Interesting. She's My Rushmore. That's kind of a flyover track for me. I'm not gonna lie.
I agree.
All right. Well,
so random.
Nathan, you mentioned just about every song of the album except for that one, so I had to shout that one out.
I named four songs, 4 whole songs. That's under half. To be clear, but they're all very good songs.
I do want to touch real quick. I feel that not a lot of people, but I feel like people cling on to this album with what Jeff was saying about how like just raw it is, and how people like when it comes to Every Time I Die, they like that raw production. I have a good buddy of mine, who refuses to listen to like any other Every Time I Die album other than this one, because he's just like, nah, the production quality is too good. And I'm like, you don't know what you're missing. I'm like, first of all, you totally have your own opinion. It's wrong, but you could have that opinion. But like, and he's just like, nah, like he's like, every other album sounds like great, but like it's just not, like it doesn't sound like it was recorded in a closet, so like I can't do it. And I feel like there's just a lot of Redditor Every Time I Die fans that feel the exact same way about it. They're like, it's not raw enough for me. Like
this is real Every Time I Die.
Yeah, and that's how a lot of people feel. Like I think.
Yeah, I like this album. I don't hold it in reverence like that.
No, some people do though, for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's wild. That's hey, Hot Damn was my introductory into heavier music take.
Yeah, but then they just never grew up, I guess. I don't know.
Hey, that's true.
I'm just talking shit.
Definitely some nostalgia, probably hinting.
Yes, 100%. A little bit.
Yeah, it's my number 8, but I was still kind of like pleasantly surprised by this because I had heard this album before. But it, to me, it was always kind of like you said, the start of Every Time I Die, in my opinion. Like, this is where Every Time I Die canon really starts. Like, we don't need to talk about Last Night in Town,
100%.
obviously. And so in my mind, it was always kind of like, oh yeah, one of their early works, I know people like it, but it's just not really for me. And then I listened to it and I was like, oh, maybe it is for me. because when they bring that breakdown back, but a little bit slower and floater, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm liking I'm picking up what they're putting down for sure. It's good. It's good stuff. I like it, but I don't like it as much as a lot of their other albums.
100% agree with that one.
So Ryan, let's see if we can keep this streak going. We got 3 lists that are exactly the same through 2. Can we keep it going?
Let's see. My number 7 is going to be X Lives.
Nope.
Strike 1.
Okay, I'll take it. Strike 1. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me really start defending myself now. Okay.
Please start cooking right now.
Poke the bear, I dare you.
Yeah, you're like, you fucking better, bro. We got to kick you off this podcast. Okay, so especially you, Jeff. Damn. All right.
Hot damn.
Okay.
Shut up.
Hot damn. Nice.
That was not funny.
You said it was nice. All right. Why do you hate it?
I don't hate it. First of all.
Yeah.
I don't know. It looks like you do.
When this album came out, I loved it. First of all, too, actually, let me give my flowers. Probably the best Every Time I Die album artwork, I think. What do you guys think? Let me hear what you guys think. You don't tell me which one's your favorite, but how do you feel about X Live's album artwork? Because I love it. I think it's probably their best album artwork.
I like it a lot. I think it's really fitting for the album, but I think they have a couple of albums that are like the album artwork perfectly complements what I'm listening to. This is definitely one of them, and I do think probably in the top half of their discography in terms of album artwork. Okay. They have a couple that I really like.
I think this album, to what Nathan just said, I think this album perfectly complements what I'm listening to, but it's not my favorite album cover. My favorite album cover is The Big Dirty, and that's one of my favorite album covers ever. Like so I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, this is you want to talk about cover. Like perfectly complementing the sound. We'll get to it later, but The Big Dirty is like that album cover is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I also like
sorry to keep cutting off.
I was the one that brought up the topic. I didn't think it was going to get that much of a likeness of the album covers.
the From Parts Unknown album cover is also sick, in my opinion.
Agreed. You're very right there. Okay, So
all right.
I remember when this album came out, I fucking loved it. I remember hearing it and I was like, Every Time I Die can't get better. This is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And if you say anything else, you're wrong and you're stupid and whatever. Another side note, I remember when they put this album out, I think the summer after that, they played Warped Tour. And I got to watch them open with Underwater Bimbos from Outerspace, which is probably okay. Let me start with this first of all. Probably, I know I'm going off on tangents everywhere, and that's just who I am. My girlfriend.
This is the third time you've started this review.
I know, fucking A. It's bad. I love this band. All right, so probably the best album opener ever.
Yes,
I think.
Yes.
It's up there. There might be one other one. We'll get that when we get there, but this could be the best album opener ever. Underwater Bones from Outer Space, crazy. Seeing that live and having them open with it at Warped Tour when I'm sweating and dying when I was like 22, coolest thing I've ever witnessed. I was like, this is awesome. I was like right up front, just getting pushed into the barricade. Like, this is awesome. Couldn't do that now. I'd have to call out of work for a week if I was doing that right now.
It is one of the best live songs I've ever heard. Like, hearing that song live is an unparalleled experience, especially when they get to that breakdown at the end. It is insane.
I think when I saw them at Warped Tour 2, when they played it, they like ran it another time, the breakdown even slower. And I was like, I'm pretty sure at that point I wasn't even watching them. I was just covering my head because I just felt punches, but I still was like, hell yeah. Okay. But yeah, then it goes straight into Holy Book of Dilemma. This song probably has one of my favorite Every Time I Die lyrics ever. It's right before like the breakdown hits. He says, our mathematics and our faiths are just ways of devouring space while we continue to devolve. It just beautiful.
Crazy. She kind of cooked throughout that entire song, though, if I'm being honest.
He 100% did. I mean, dude, Keith is one of the best lyricists ever. I look up, if I could write lyrics as half as good as he could, I don't know. I'd be doing something with my life, I guess. And yeah, he's amazing. Typical Miracle, great song. I Suck Blood, another great song. I think what this album, why I ranked it where I ranked it, is that this album felt like to me that it was an album where not so many songs were great, but there were so many good parts of songs, if that makes any sense. Like a lot, just there, like especially in the first 5 tracks, like those ones are the best ones, but then like the rest of the songs, there's just other parts that I like. Not I couldn't go like this whole song's awesome. I'll be like, oh yeah, 130 to 215 was great. And then that was it. It also too felt like the album didn't really have much of a direction to it, which I'm totally going to contradict later on. And I'm sorry, but I feel like when I listened to this album, it just was kind of too all over the place for me. And it took me years of like listening to them to like realize that. Dude, I have this album ranked way high. I redid my list like 40 times, and I had this ranked higher, and it slowly kept getting down, and I was questioning myself. I was questioning myself when I put this at 7.
Interesting. I get what you're saying about the parts, because I do think, the 3 albums that I have above this, obviously this being in my number 4 spot, I think are more consistent. And when I think about the Best Every Time I Die albums, they're kind of set apart by their consistency. And this one has a little bit more hit or miss on it. But for me, when it's hitting, it is hitting so hard. Like we already talked about, like Underwater Bimbos. I mean, the breakdown at the end of that song is like one of the best breakdowns of all time, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I agree.
We recently did a top 10 guitar solos, like Patreon, where we kind of came with, we each came in with 10 solos, and then we narrowed it down. This would be in my 10 to discuss for a top 10 breakdowns of all time, because the end of that song is outrageous, and they just let it eat. But beyond that song, I mean, Partying Is Such Sweet Sorrow is another one of my favorites, and has one of the standout moments in the discography, in my opinion, with the banjo intro.
Yes.
Absolutely devious. And then to layer that banjo with the guitar lead that comes in is crazy. It's diabolical. It's so good. And so like it has those really high highs. But really for me, I mean, there are a couple misses on here. Touch Yourself and Indian Giver to close the album, I'm not as high on. So like there is a little bit of inconsistency, but when this thing is hitting, it is ripping.
Yeah. Ryan, I think the reason why I have this album so high is the reason why you have it so low. And I'm going to show my cards here a little bit, but I actually love Every Time I Die when they're doing the genre bending stuff, when they're going from hardcore to Southern rock, to maybe some post-hardcore, maybe some metalcore. That's when I think they're at their best, because it sets them apart from so many other bands. And so when I heard the first 5 songs, first off, I noted just how passionate the screaming was and how angry it was in like the first half of this album. That really drew me in, because I was like, this is insane, kind of like what you guys were talking about. But when I got to Partying Is Such a Sweet Sorrow, and it was almost like stereotypically Southern rock in a lot of the lyrics, like they're trying to do it, with the banjo, talking about bottom of the first drink, bottom of the second drink, it's like very clearly trying to tap into that Southern rock. I actually loved it. I actually think that really makes the album stand out. And then Revival Mode is the other song that does that for me as well.
Revival Mode is a good song, I will say that.
That is a good one.
I really like that song. And so, for me, when they go from the heavy hardcore to the Southern rock, that's when I really, really like them. And I think on here, this is them genre bending at like their most extreme. Like I said, with the Southern rock, really leaning into that, and with like Partying Is Such a Sweet Sorrow and even Revival Mode. Like, I agree that the inconsistency may be a drawback, but for me, I think it's a real boon. And I really, really enjoy that they're willing to experiment like that. And just personal taste, I feel like sometimes the hardcore, if it's just all the way through, can get a little grating. So these breaks, I think, are really make this album shine to me.
I feel like you're just really showing my old right now. You're like the genre bending, you know, and how it's just so different. And I'm like, give me breakdowns. I've been listening to them since I was 12.
Jeff, I just to put a bow on it, I think that's a great review, because I agree, and I think that there are elements and moments like between Indian Giver and grunge music, grudge music, where it kind of, you get a weird ambient unresolved ending into grudge music, which is balls to the wall, brains on the floor, insane. And they do that throughout pretty well, I think. And like you were saying, there's a lot of variation. It is a cool listen. And then the last thing, I love Drag King. That might be a top 10 song for me.
That song is awesome.
That song is nuts.
Drag King's good too. Fuck, now I don't even know anything anymore. I don't know what I like anymore, honestly.
Yes, you do. I mean, yes, you do.
I don't.
There's a lot of good songs on here. Like, I was kind of talking about the inconsistency, but like Holy Book of Dilemma, nuts. I Suck Blood, nuts. Partying, nuts.
Partying is such sweet sorrow is great.
The Low Road Has No Exits is insane.
It's crazy. So
like,
there's growling.
It's crazy. And like, you know, one thing that sets this album apart, you know, I was talking about, maybe this was over text with the boys, but like, you can split up Every Time I Die his discography into like distinct eras. I think this album and Her Sister are like a very distinct era of Every Time I Die that is very, very fast. And I kind of really love that. It is like, it sets it apart from the other albums in this discography. It gives it its own unique flavor. I'm glad they went there for a couple albums, and I'm glad they stopped. You know, like, it's just a distinct era 100%. That works really well. And, you know, if they did it all the time, it'd probably get a little tiring, but that's one of the things that's so good about this discography. And one of the things that I think has kept this band going, poor wording there, one of the things that past tense kept this band going for so long was their willingness to change it up for an album or two and like make some slight sonic changes that make a really big difference, in my opinion. They were always fresh, man. They were always fresh.
You know what? You guys all have fair points. I'll allow it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
That was a great album. But what's even better?
Okay. I feel like this is where it starts to get dicey for me, because I feel like the next three even, I still don't know which one I like more, but I had to lock in something, so I did it.
I kind of agree with you, Ryan. My next three are also the same boat.
I feel like 6, 5, and 4, if anyone says that any of those are better than the other, it's like kind of like, but is it? You know, I don't know.
I'll say this. This is the easiest discography where 5 could jump to number 1, and I wouldn't be like shocked or upset by it.
100%. 100%. All right. Number 6, I'm going with From Parts Unknown. Now, do you guys hate me?
A little bit.
Oh,
Kyle,
Nathan has it at 2.
Okay.
Nathan has it at 2. Ryan has it at 6. I have it at 7. Jeff has it at 8. Nathan, you are a freak.
Wow.
No, you know what though? No, you know what? No. I'm gonna back up Nathan here for a second. I understand that more than understanding why Jeff has it at 7 or 8. Sorry. And even Kyle at 7. I'm still confused why I have it at 6. So I don't even know what's happening.
You guys are freaking maniacs. Like, this album is so good.
May I start? I think I have to admit something.
You can start it.
I have to admit something.
What's up?
I could not get through this album. I'm just going to be honest. I could not get through this album. I could not sit through it.
What do you mean?
There's something with his screaming delivery, the production. It just was clashing in my ears way too much, and I could not sit through it. undoubtedly this is their heaviest album, like for sure. I'm not going to argue with that. I think this is for sure their most like hardcore heaviest album, but the screaming was so hard for me to listen to, and just the production was it felt muddy, and I couldn't differentiate what was happening when I was trying to listen through these songs, and it was just not enjoyable. It just really wasn't. And that's my honest opinion.
Can you tag me in?
Kyle, I'll tag
me in. I agree. This album's tough for me to listen to. The production feels quite samey. It feels like it clashes with a lot of the elements of their sound. And at the end of the day, this is not the Every Time I Die I enjoy. And I love heavy stuff. This is too heavy for too much of a sustained period of time to where I feel like some variation in songs would do them good. All that being said, I think a potential top 3 Every Time I Die song is More.
So good.
That is the soul light of this album, in my opinion. Not the soul light, but it's one of the only lights in this album, in my opinion. More is a song that made me pay attention to this entire discography. It's that good of a song. But Jeff, I echo what you say. It feels like it clashes. It feels like it's not very, it feels like it's a little disjointed, even though at the end of the day, it to me doesn't really scratch any itch or sound or have the variation that I'm looking for and that I enjoy in Every Time I Die. But shout out More. That song is unbelievable.
No, Kyle, and thank you for keeping me sane. I thought I was going to be the only one with this kind of opinion. I recognize that if you love hardcore, if you love Every Time I Die at their heaviest, this is the album for you. But like I said, I really prefer like when they add in those southern rock elements, the post-hardcore parts, and you'll see that when you see my ranking. The more of that they have in an album, the higher it is in my ranking. And this just, I mean, to me, like I just could not get through it. It was too much.
Okay. I'm surprised. I'm surprised you guys are saying that this is their heaviest album, because I don't feel that way.
It's a very specific type of heavy, I think. You know, it's X Live's sister album. It's very fat. There's lots of blast beats. There's lots of screaming. And so in some ways, I think it's heavy. I don't know if it's their heaviest, but I don't know. I can see why y'all are saying it's their heaviest. And maybe it is. But it's so good. It's so good. And Jeff, I do want to point out, like you were talking about, the screaming is too much. I didn't mention this when we were talking about X Lives, but I that stood out more to me on that album than it did this one. And it's like a tiny little nitpick when it comes to the album. It's like the first 4 tracks, there's very little room to breathe instrumentally. Like Keith is just kind of going the whole way, and never letting the instrumental just do its thing. And I didn't feel that on here, which is why, or it's part of why I actually prefer this to X Lives. I mean, a small part of why, but a part nonetheless. So I think it's funny that you brought that up as kind of a con of this album. Ryan, I think I cut you off. You're about to dig in, and I think you should dig in, and then I'll come in and try to redeem and actually try to tell y'all why this is such a good album.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. I think that I really only have a few things to say. First of all, if there is room to move, things move. Fucking great song. Great song.
Yeah.
Fucking great song. Exometrium. How do you say that? I don't know how to read. Is that it? Did I say that right?
My guess would be exometrium.
Exometrium. Jesus, I write lyrics and I can't read. Apparently, great song.
Well, they do make up words, so don't really take it personally. These words are not real.
True.
All
then
words
Thirst,
are made up.
great song. Yeah, Thirst, also a great song. And then Minju, our guitar player, wanted me to say once I got to this album, El Dorado is one of his favorite Every Time I Die songs.
That's a W. That's a W.
It is a good song, but I don't see like the appeal of being like, that's one of my favorites. Like nothing in that song makes me go, yeah, this is a top 10.
Oh, I don't know if I'd say it's top 10, but it's definitely like a really good song. I love kind of just how unashamedly rock and roll that like chorus bit is.
That's totally fair.
I love the tiny little details like the clapping in the chorus and like the piano power slide coming out of the first chorus. Like it all there's a lot of little bells and whistles in there that I think really add to the song. And that is a really fun one.
Well, I mean, that's kind of all I gotta really say about this. If I'm being 100%, if I'm being 100% honest, that's really all I gotta say about this. It is a good album. I think I liked it better than X Lives, only because I felt it just was a little more put together. But other than that, it's like just for me personally, just a step above X Lives, and it's because it just feels more put together and like there's a reason why it goes from start to finish, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no. And I think, you know what, of all 4 of our lists, I think you're probably showing the most consistency by putting X Lives and From Parts Unknown right next to each other, because they are, I mean, I said it earlier, they're like sister albums. They're very similar in a lot of ways, just with that breakneck pace, the hardcore influence being front and center. Like these albums to me are maybe the most similar of any two Every Time I Die albums. And for me, I fully agree. I think this is a better version of X Lives, you know, a little more put together, a little more consistent. And maybe there's no, you know, underwater bimbos, but there's also no Touch Yourself, no Indian Giver. Like it's more consistent than that album is. And I say, you know, there's no underwater bimbos, but there is Decayin with the Boys, and that to me is one of the most fun Every Time I Die songs. And so, like,
it is a good song. That is a great song.
There's a lot of good songs on here, like Decayin with the Boys, If There's Room to Move, Thirst is great, Old Light is great, El Dorado, Decayin, man, I'm coming back to it, but the simplicity of some of those riffs is awesome. And just the way that they're so effective. They're like, yeah, we'll just hit the top string for a little bit and then we'll just do drums. And it's like, yeah, this is awesome. And Kyle, you are spot on in mentioning More. That is one of the most interesting tracks in this entire discography. And the way it opens on just piano and vocals and then builds with the kind of droning guitars that really creep in before it kind of explodes into that more familiar Every Time I Die sound. Those low-tuned guitars at the end of that song hit so hard, and the breakdown at the end is just stupid. Like, it's so awesome. And another thing I want to point out, the drumming on this album, like, people talk about Every Time I Die, Jordan and his guitar riffs obviously come up a lot, as they should. The drumming on this album is outrageous. And like their drummer at the time, Ryan Halvaks, a menace on the kit for this album and X Lives. Like it is.
This was the last album he was on, right?
Yep. He was actually only on those 2 albums. And like you feel it.
Yeah. I was going to say, okay. Yeah.
Like you feel his presence behind that kit. And he is just like, it's like perfectly controlled chaos that so perfectly complements what Jordan's doing on the guitar, what Keith is doing vocally. Like it all just comes together in such a unique sound where everything's like kind of off, kind of interesting. Like, oh, that wouldn't have been my first thought to do for that drum part or guitar part or whatever, but it works perfectly in that sense. And it's so fascinating to listen to. And this is true of all Every Time I Die albums, but like it's a band that makes me want to pick my guitar up and start writing riffs again because it's just so creative. Every decision they make is so fascinating and so perfectly Every Time I Die. And it's amazing. And I think I'll keep going with my monologue about why this album is so good. It almost feels like a culmination of so much of what they've been doing up to this point in their careers. Like, obviously, you got the fast hardcore tracks that are more recent for them at this time. But then you also have those kind of like hard rock driven tracks that kind of harken back to some of their earlier stuff like El Dorado or even Decayin to an extent. And so you have kind of a little bit of everything that makes Every Time I Die so excellent and kind of a version of it that is turned all the way up to 11. It's like, what if we brought in all those elements and then took it to the extreme? And this album is just so consistent and so exhilarating. It's so good, man. I am shocked by this. I love it.
I'm surprised you have it at number 2. I don't know why.
I am also surprised.
I mean, you've explained everything to me, but you explained it all to me. But after listening to that whole monologue, I'm still like, yeah, I'm gonna keep it at 6. Like, not to sound like an asshole, but I heard everything you just said, man, and I just went. I think I'm gonna keep it where I have it, man.
Man, that is so
funny. Shit on your fucking party, but
that's super consistent with your list. Like, you don't like hardcore pedal to the metal, fast paced every time I die. Like, and this is them at their fastest, I think. So it makes sense.
Or I do, and I don't think this is them at their fastest.
Oh baby.
Oh
baby.
Ooh,
Okay,
interesting. Okay.
The suspense is killing me.
He's doing a little discourse.
I'm trying.
He's a natural.
Dude, I used to podcast with some of my friends. It wasn't this, but you know.
Hey, he's experienced in the realm. All right.
I do it
well,
sometimes.
I'm upset that my arguments were not persuasive, but I fully stand by them. This album is so good, and I told y'all right before we did this, I'm struggling to pick 1 and 2. This was almost my number 1. Like, this was dangerously close to being my number 1. I love it. But to that point, also, like I said, this would be the easiest discography for 5 to jump to 1, because these top 5 are stupid good. So
100% agreed.
Ryan, what's your 5?
All right. So like I said, my 6, 5, and 4 were probably the hardest to decide. And I think my 5 and 4 go back and forth the most out of this whole list, for sure. And once again, I still don't I have to lock it in, so I'm gonna lock it in. But number 5, I'm going The Big Dirty.
Walk away, it's too much to bear. I've been bitten by the party animal. Save yourself. Tell my baby that I loved her so.
Let's go.
I don't think I like this podcast anymore.
Nathan, what's going on?
My number 5 is also The Big Daddy.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so is my number 5.
Nathan, you're number 3. You freak.
It's good. No, Nathan, that's no. It is a great album. I'm not going to give you any shade on it at all. For it to be your number 3 even if it was your number 1, I'd be like, I totally get that. Other than Underwater Bimbos from Outer Space being one of the best opening tracks of any Every Time I Die album, No Son of Mine might also be. It might be better than Underwater Bimbos. I have it ranked higher technically, as if we're going by albums, higher on my list. No Son of Mine is a fucking great song. The first 6 tracks of this album is good. The first fucking 8 tracks of this album is really good. I feel like it kind of starts to die off a little bit towards the end. But yeah, No Son of Mine is great. No Son of Mine is great. Pigs is Pigs, great. Leatherneck, it's all right. To me personally,
the riffs in Leatherneck though. Riffs are crazy.
The riffs are great. You're not wrong there. I think probably my favorite song on this album, though, other than No Son of Mine, it's got to be No Son of Mine or A Gentleman's Sport. I think A Gentleman's Sport is a great fucking track.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know if anyone else agrees with me on that one, but
fully.
That's probably one of my favorite.
I completely agree.
I know that Werewolf was kind of their like single, their hit that like everyone, whatever. But it was too. I felt like with Werewolf, they're trying to do the new Black too hard with that. If that makes any sense to anyone here.
I disagree, but I completely understand what you're saying. It does feel a little bit like the new Black too. But it
it makes no sense what you just said, but I like it.
I disagree with the fact that it doesn't work. I agree with what you're saying about it being the new Black 2. It works on me. I'm like, that rips.
Okay. All right. Okay, at least someone understands what I'm saying. That it feels like the new Black Part 2, but it really does. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of all I really got to say about this whole album. It is a great album. A fun caveat about this album is that, again, me and Minju's old band back in like high school, we won some like battle of the bands thing in high school, and we actually got to go record one day at the studio that this album was like engineered at, which is really cool. We had like a 12-hour session with a guy. Yeah, he didn't like produce anything for us, or really. He just was like, "You guys got to have a song. You come in, I press record, I'll mix it, I'll master it, whatever." But I remember being there and recording that one song, and I was like, "Dude, this is where the Big Dirty was recorded. This is fucking crazy," and that was cool.
That is cool.
To your point on Bimbos and No Son of Mine, I think Bimbos is better than No Son of Mine, only because Deadbeat Godfather for some reason makes me laugh. I don't know why. It's just very funny to me.
I think that part's awesome.
I feel like that's such a Keith lyric, though.
It is.
Yeah,
it so is.
That's such. That's. I feel like that'd be weird if you heard Sabrina Carpenter say that for sure. But when Keith says it, you're like yeah. When Keith says it, you're like, fuck yeah, dude. Tell me about him.
I hear you.
Keith is obviously a funny guy, though, with a lot of his lyrics. And Deadbeat Godfather, I've never thought of that. That's just hilarious. So, yeah, if Sabrina Carpenter said that, I would be shocked and maybe horrified. But Keith saying it is awesome. Ryan, I want to go back to, you said the back half of the album doesn't really do it for you. And
I don't want to say the back half. Okay, sorry, continue.
I was just going to point out Buffalo Gals and Imitation is the sincerest form of
battery.
Thank you.
Yep.
I only have that much on my list.
The one word that's like the joke is the one you don't have.
Again, Keith is a funny guy, man. I'm telling you. Those two are two of the nastiest 1-2 punches on a closer. And I love Imitation. I love that song. That's a top 10 song for me. I think they crush it. Yeah, I was wondering your thoughts, Ryan, exactly on those two songs.
I like Buffalo Gals a lot. I think I need to go back and listen to Imitation again for sure. But I know Buffalo Gals is a great song. I think the ones that stuck out for me on the back half that I was kind of like on are what is it? In Rehab or whatever.
Yeah, that song's fair. No, that's an okay take.
Yeah, it's no, I'll take that. And then Depressionista, I thought was like whatever. Mm-hmm. And I also thought too, and I feel like I'm gonna get hate for this one. What is it? Rendezvous. I thought that was like all right.
Oh, I love that song.
I like Rendezvous.
Pretty good.
But Cities and Years right before that was great.
That song's pretty good.
Yeah. I like Rendezvous and Cities and Years probably. I like Rendezvous a little more, but I do.
But Gentleman's
enjoy Cities and Years.
Gentleman's Sport is nuts.
So good.
Oh my
Gentleman's Sport is great.
Well, there's so many like big hits in that song where like the rhythm guitar or whatever comes in, and it's like, oh yeah, the way that song is produced is awesome.
Gentleman's Sport's funny. I wrote down. I really like the use of the animal imagery in the lyrics. I don't know what the song is about, but I can assure you it's not good.
That is a great take on it.
That's one of the funniest things.
Yeah, I really like this album. Like I said, all the ones that you guys aren't so sure about are the songs that I enjoy. I think it's just at this point a stylistic kind of what you prefer. Like I really like Rendezvous. I really like In Rehab and Werewolf, obviously, kind of the ones with more the southern flavor going on. Like I said, those are really, really my standouts. Those are the ones that I love. Buffalo Gals, I know has been mentioned a few times. I think that song is fantastic. But I mean, all in all, like I think where I have this album really fits what I think about it. I think it's really good. And I think, when you're comparing Every Time I Die albums, it can be really difficult to kind of put one over the other. I think I have this one at number 5 just because I like things the other albums are doing a little bit more. But I think this is one that's definitely going to grow on me as I continue to listen through the discography in the future. And I will say, we haven't talked about the album that came before this, but this one, to me, has a way fuller production on it. It really makes my ears feel good. And so I also have, that's another reason why it's at number 5.
This album makes my ears feel real good. Like, I love the production on this album. The guitar riffs are so like perfectly bass heavy Like the guitar tone on here is disgusting. It's awesome. It sounds so good. There's so much oomph to those like low string moments.
Does Rendezvous have an organ? I think I heard an organ in that one. So that's just another thing to mention. That's really cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of really cool kind of instrumental bells and whistles again, like I was talking about earlier on that track. Lots of cool. There's like an out of tune piano. It sounds like at some point, like there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in that song. Yeah, we talked a lot of my high spots already. So I'll just kind of give general reasons of why I love this album. I mentioned it earlier. I'm a marketing guy. The imagery on this album is so perfect for the sounds I'm hearing. Like
I 100% agree with that. Yes.
Gritty, it's dirty, raucous. Like it's just perfect. It's so perfect.
I would put this album cover up there with Homesick by Day to Remember. I put it up there with Dead Throne by Devil Wears Prada. Like it's so good. It's such a good album cover.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I do agree that then the title of this album, plus when you're looking at the album cover and then what you listen to on this album, you just go, yeah, this is what I was gonna listen to. Like obviously, like the Big Dirty. That I feel like that's just how you explain the album in general.
Yeah, this album is the Big Dirty. Duh. Like of course it is.
You are a marketing guy. Jesus Christ.
I am. Unfortunately.
No, that's totally fine, but you're right.
Dude, from the first track, I mean, you can tell Every Time I Die is not messing around on this one. Bringing in that breakdown at the end where you get all that feedback and then you hear the riff start to come back in, but a little bit slower.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. Love that.
Yeah. And another thing I'll point out about this album that we haven't touched on, Keith explicitly mentions rock and roll a couple times on this album, and it doesn't come off extremely corny. And that may be the only time it's ever happened in the history of heavy music. He does it on No Son of Mine, and I think he does it on Depressionista as well. But like, oh yeah, here's what he says in Depressionista. Till death do we rock. And the fact that he gets away with that is crazy to me. Like, if Caleb Shomo on the next Beartooth track said, till death do we rock, I would roll my eyes so hard they would fall out of my skull. Like, it would not work at all. But Keith pulls it off. And I think it has to do with the Southern rock flavor on this album, Keith's delivery, and general lyricism. Like, of course he can get away with it. Like, duh. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we've already talked about a lot of my favorites. Werewolf is like a 10 out of 10 song, in my opinion. As soon as I hear those 4 cowbell hits at the beginning, like I am ready to go freaking crazy. And I actually have written here in my notes, Werewolf, which has always felt like a spiritual successor to the New Black, in my opinion. Sonically, a little less chaotic, less heavy than some of the other tracks. Both have great hooks. Both are snarky lyrically, and they kind of lean into that Southern metalcore sound. It's totally the New Black too. But again, the difference there is it works. It works for me. I'm like, give me more of that. It's so good. Because the second half of that song is so sick. I love that secondary riff they bring in. It's so good. And the way they go into that kind of pseudo breakdown in between the riff it works. It works every time. A track I haven't heard mentioned yet is Rebel Without Applause. That track is off the rails. It's insane. And it's just more of that chaotic, Every Time I Die going crazy, riffs going crazy. Like, God, I'm shocked that y'all have this at 5, because I think this album is so consistent and so enjoyable, and there are so few albums that sound like this. It's so good.
No, that's all fair what you said, and I'll.
Oh, but let me guess, you're leaving it at 5.
I fully disagree. I fully, Nathan, I know you have good points. I still fully disagree with you.
Whatever. I don't even care. We could all have the same number one still, but everything else is out of the question.
I really doubt we're gonna have the same number ones. I don't
There's
think
no
any of us are gonna have the
freaking
same
way
number
we have
ones.
the same number one.
There's no way.
Yeah, there's no world where that happens. All right, but let's get a little bit
find
closer.
out. Let's find out, dang it.
Let's take a step that way. What's your number 4? Potentially my number 7. And Jeff's number 7. Jeff, your 7's open too.
Sure is.
Ooh, Jeff 7's open. My number 4 is gonna have to be New Junk Aesthetic.
I can't believe this, dude. This is so freaking crazy.
Dude, okay.
And there it is.
I have it at 6, just for the record.
No, okay, let me say something first, real quick. The first time I made this list, I had New Junk Aesthetic at number 1. I did. Which was, I have it dated here on my computer and my sticky notes. It says ETID ranking as of 128, 2025, number 1, New Junk Aesthetic. And I did have it there, and I full-heartedly believed that. And then I changed my mind. And
well, let me see if I can change it back.
You probably can. That's the fucked up thing, is that this is going to be the time where whatever you're about to say, because you're very good at explaining why you like albums. It's compelling.
You.
It really is. It really is.
You do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I don't agree with that.
It's a great album all around for the most part. For the most part. It starts off pretty strong with Roman Holiday. It's obviously not a No Son of Mine or Underwater Bimbos, but it starts off pretty strong. I love The Marvelous Slut. I like how it just goes in there. It's quick, it's boom, it's whatever. Who Invented the Russian Soldier is a fucking great song. The riffs on there are just amazing.
I'm liking what you're saying so far.
Wanderlust, obviously great.
Bang.
I feel like that's the new Black Part fucking 3 at this point, honestly.
And honestly, it I could see that.
I really do feel like that. And then For the Record, also a great song. White Smoke is probably my favorite fucking song on this whole album. The way it ends, just I think it's my favorite song on there. I think just from start to finish, it's Every Time I Die. This is what I think of when I hear Every Time I Die is White Smoke, personally. And then after that, it just kind of falls off for me. Like, I think like Organ Grinder was like weird. Like, I remember when I heard that, I just was like, what is this kind of what's going on? And Turtles All the Way Down. Like, it just feels like right after White Smoke, Turtles All the Way Down, and then Organ Grinder, just kind of like, what's happening now? It does pick up again after that, but yeah, it's once again, it's just kind of, I feel like it's one of those albums that the first half was just, for me, better. Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel. But it is still a great album all the way through. Obviously, I have it at number 4, and I do have it above The Big Dirty, which I feel like is a crazy thing to do, because that's just such a great album. But both of those albums fucking flip. 5 and 4 for me flip-flop on a consistent basis.
You're going to look at this track list and see after 1/4 of a revolution down there and tell me it falls off in the second half?
Okay, okay. See, that's the thing, is now you're reminding me of shit that I'm just forgetting.
A great song.
And then right after that, you're going to look at the Sweet Life and tell me that's not a good track?
Sweet Life is a good song. That is a good song.
Awesome. It's so good.
Okay, then let me revise what I said.
I'm not on video right now, but I am pointing at my computer. Like, I am pointing at the tracks.
I believe
I need you to know that.
Okay, so Turtles All the Way Down, Organ Grinder, and Host Disorder, I just think are whatever. Those 3 songs for sure. But you are right. After 1/4 of a Revolution and The Sweet Life are great songs.
The Sweet Life is not a great song. Not on the level of After 1/4 of a Revolution. Respectfully.
I don't like After 1/4 of a Revolution. I don't know what they're doing with the voice distortion on that song, but I don't think it works at all, personally.
It's so good.
Awesome.
If they're trying to artificially create like a low quality, like hardcore, I don't like it.
All right. 1/4 of a Revolution is better than The Sweet Life. Kyle, I think you said that. I will give you that. Both are great tracks. So And Ryan, you know
Thank
what?
you.
I'll even give you Turtles All the Way Down through Host Disorder is kind of like the low spot of this album, but it still works as a change of pacing on the album for me, and I think actually kind of improves. If this was just the same thing all the way through, I think it would get a little tired, but it's not, and that kind of breaking up in the pacing really works for me. And that's not even speaking to the strength of the first 6 tracks on here with the tracks you mentioned, Roman Holiday, The Marvelous Slut, Who Invited the Russian Soldier, Wanderlust. For the Record is incredible. And White Smoke, like that run of songs is absolutely absurd. This is Every Time I Die, and Jordan particularly, is straight up riffing on here in such an absolutely outrageous way. And I think this is almost kind of a perfect transition album from classic kind of more southern rooted hardcore metalcore into the more fast-paced hardcore, and it's like right in a sweet spot between them where they're doing some southern stuff, but also they've picked up the pace a little bit and they're starting to go really hard on the riffs. And there's like a slight sonic change on here, but it makes for a perfect transition piece in the scope of the discography. But man, this album, I love the riffs on here.
No,
so
I will agree. I will agree with you. The riffs are crazy. This album should really be called the New Riff Aesthetic because the riffs are riffing.
That's a good take. That's a great take.
The riffs are riffing like 100%.
The new riff aesthetic, like that, any other band, I'd be like, that's so corny. Going back to the kind of rock and roll conversation, if Every Time I Die put out an album called the New Riff Aesthetic, I'd be all in. I'd be like, yeah, let me hear that. Let me hear that. It's so good. And I've already talked about all the songs I like. I'm going to speak specifically on For the Record. One of my favorite Every Time I Die songs. There's just something about all those triplet riffs that just scratches the itch in my brain so perfectly. Like I'm like, yeah, that is what I like. And to do it the whole song, it never gets old. That song is just so good. I love this album so much.
Yeah. Damn. Do I have to move this higher? No, I'm sticking with it.
I think you should.
I'm sticking with it. No, I'm sticking with it. I'm sticking with it.
It goes Wanderlust into For the Record. And that
you're right. Yeah, For the Record.
It's so good. Wanderlust is like the perfect kind of melodic Every Time I Die song. The chorus is one of the best that they've ever done. It's the perfect balance of that aggression and melody. And I kind of love when they're in that range. Obviously, it being, the New Black Part 3, it works on me every time. And this time, just as much as the last 2 times they did it. It's awesome.
I like White Smoke.
White Smoke is a great fucking song. For the Record into White Smoke is beautiful.
Which makes it Wanderlust, For the Record, White Smoke. By the way,
I still think it's the first 6 tracks in general that are just
I agree.
Bang after bang after bang after bang.
I'm surprised you guys like Roman Holiday so much.
I don't like Roman Holiday.
I don't like that song that much. I don't really think that it works.
It doesn't compare to like an Underwater Bimbos or a No Son of Mine or even a The Great Secret with the blow your brains out opening. We didn't talk about that, but that is crazy. But it works as like a new junk aesthetic, again, tying in with the branding of the album. That sounds like something that you just picked up out of the garbage and has kind of an ominous feel to it. And it really works for setting the tone of the album, in my opinion. And granted, a lot of the album doesn't really sound like that, but it's a really cool intro as kind of a one-off thing.
In the context of the album, it works a lot better than a standalone song. I barely think that there's like a song there at all, in my opinion, without the context of the album. But I think, in regarding starting the album, I think it works a lot better. So I will give you that for sure.
The feedback on that song, like that just guitar noise is so like visceral. It's so sick.
I wanted to get y'all's opinion on this. I'm not really sure how to put this. This might just be me making stuff up, but this really did feel like the first album in their discography where they really, really tried hard to have Keith match his screaming with the rhythm of the guitars and the drums. Does that make sense? Like,
I get
it
what
felt
you're
like
saying.
before this album, I felt like there was a lot more free flowing of his lyrics, maybe not lining up completely in tempo with the instrumentation. But I felt like on this, especially the first couple of tracks, they tried really hard to fit him in. And so, like, this album just has like especially like The Marvelous Slut, Who Invited the Russian Soldier. Those songs like feel very in time, so to speak, like very punchy and tight. And I don't know if there was a concerted effort to do that with him or not, but I feel like that was a really cool listening experience for the first half of this album. I don't know if you guys had the same experience listening to it or not.
I agree with that.
I can see that.
If you've hit us with 2 banger takes so far.
Yeah, Jeff, you're on a roll. Welcome back.
My God,
You're
not rusty at all. Holy
Thank you.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. But it makes sense with looking back and listening to the album.
Well, and I also think that they fall away from it after this. So it is just kind of like a uniqueness of this album. I feel like, I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know if I agree with that. You had me in the first half. You're starting to lose me though.
No, you still think that they okay, I can see that. I mean, I didn't really pay attention to it, that much after listening to this, but this one definitely I noticed. I was like, oh wow, like he's definitely sounds like trying to stay in time with the instrumentation, and it really makes the song sound cool. But
yeah, I think the difference between this and X Lives after it is the sonic change the band went through overall. Like that album being much faster and more chaotic and metallic. It's he is screaming all the way through those songs. And never really, or doesn't as much let the instrumentation breathe kind of as he does on here. There are some instrumental highlight moments on this album that maybe that one doesn't have beyond. Well, even the breakdown in Underwater Bimbos, he's kind of screaming the whole time. But it works there. It doesn't work for a full album, but it works there.
Yeah.
Of course, this was the one of course, this is your 4, and y'all have 3 spots to go, and I'm down here with 7, 6, and 5.
Ryan, you and we're the same, dude.
Yeah. I was gonna say I was just looking. Who am I the closest with? And it's about. Yeah.
I mean, we've got 3 in the same spot.
I feel like we're relatively similar. I think Nathan's the most far off now, to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
Not trying to call anyone out, but
now that I know where Nathan,
I have elevated taste.
Oh, I have elevated taste. All right, Ryan.
One day your brains will wrinkle and you'll understand that this list is better. All right. Take us there, Ryan. What's your number 3?
I feel like this is going to be the one where maybe not from you guys. Now looking at your list, I don't think I'm going to get the most heat for it from you guys, but from the internet, I will get the most heat for this. But number 3, I'm going to go with Low Teens.
I'm standing in the way again. I can't see the road ahead. Don't take it back. You're all that I have. New goddess emerged from the mist.
Dude, let's go.
Dude, Kyle and I are the fucking same.
We are the same, man. I'm kind of fired up right now.
Got that in my 6th spot.
Jeez, really, Nathan? Nathan, you love this album.
I know. I love all of these albums.
That's the thing with this band is it's like you could literally, like Nathan said, he's like, I love this album, and he could have it in his number 6 slot and still say, I love this album. Because I feel the exact same way. It's like every album is just wherever you rank it, it's like there's just a slim margin in between of why one's better than the other.
Jeff has silently put it at number 1.
Yeah, I have it at number 1. I have it at
silent
number 1.
killer.
I don't really look. This is definitely nostalgia. I think for number 1.
Yeah,
I'm just like
respectfully, yes,
it is. This is the one of the albums that got me into this kind of music, and so I have to pay it its respects.
Yeah,
that's honestly totally fair. I feel like if people heard this album and this was the first like Every Time I Die album they ever heard, this is always going to be their number one. Like I know so many people that this was the album that got them into Every Time I Die, and they'll go back and listen to their whole catalog and they'll always be like, no, Low Teens is the best. Like I don't care what anyone says, and it's fair. It's a great album.
It's funny because this was my first Every Time I Die release, and I've long since kind of held this in regard as one of their best albums. And so I fully came into this episode prep period like, yeah, Low Teens is going to be really high on this list, obviously, because it has exceptional tracks on it. And it does. There's no doubt about that. The Coin Has a Say is a top 10 Every Time I Die song, and that's like kind of a no-brainer to me. That song is incredible. The main riff is so cool. That track just doesn't let up. And there are tracks like that kind of sporadically throughout this album. Really high highs, but also kind of one of their more inconsistent albums, which I was kind of shocked to come to that conclusion. But in listening to all these albums over the course of the last month, I mean, this is really hit or miss in a way that almost none of their other albums are.
I want to hear from each of you guys on this album specifically. What was your favorite song?
It Remembers.
It Remembers is really cool. What an insane feature as well.
It's so good.
It's so random. But like, I think I remember seeing something that Brendan Urie is like a huge Every Time I Die fan. And he has like a New Junk Aesthetic tattoo or something.
Yeah.
That's kind of sick.
Yeah,
Dude, you and Brendan Urie would be best friends.
Yo, Brendan, come on the pod.
For real though.
I didn't even know that. I mean, I guess he's on the song, so that makes sense. But I didn't know he was that big of a fan. I thought that was just like a random thing that happened.
I'm gonna fact check that, but I feel like I saw that somewhere.
That's kind of sick.
He's in it.
But okay, wait. Let me get everyone's favorite song real quick. What is everyone's favorite song on this album?
So I'll go Two Summers or I'll go Pedal. And Pedal because of the context, the life context surrounding the release of this album.
Pedal is a great fucking song. Let me hear who's next. Nathan, have you said it?
I have not. Dude, there's two that I could easily see being. There's two 10 out of 10 songs on this album, in my opinion.
You can give me two. Give me two. That's fine.
Obviously, The Coin Has a Say. Freaking stupid track. So good. The other one is actually super basic. Map Change is so good. What a track. I mean, just the way that song evolves and it's so dynamic. And I assure you that Hell Is Not a Myth breakdown, like that riff is awesome. It's so good. And of course, there's the Every Time I Die lore that at the last Warped Tour show, Jordan played the main riff in this song for like 10 minutes or something crazy like that before they pulled his sound. Like he just would not leave the stage and kept playing the riff in the chorus of the song over and over again. And like, what an iconic moment. Like, it's so cool. And so Map Change, it's like their number one song on Spotify, I think, but it's so good.
It is, I think.
So
good. Incredible.
No one said anything about Religion of Speed.
Yeah, because it's a miss.
I don't love that song actually. Yeah, it's
all right, dude. I think we're gonna have to end it here.
Yeah, guys, that was fun, y'all.
I'll talk to you guys later, man. Yeah, that's good. You guys can decide the 1 and 2. I don't even care anymore.
I think, hey, by the way, I think Religion of Speed is phenomenal. Like that was kind of a dunk.
Kyle and I are the only two on the same fucking wavelength here, man. We should just start our own podcast. Apparently,
go ahead.
Hey, reach out, Ryan.
We're about to implode like Every Time I Die did.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, man, now the mood is down.
Now the mood is down. I also want to shout out Jeffy. You said Two Summers. The ending riff of that song is awesome. You get a little cowbell in there. Fantastic track. I do love the cowbell whenever they bring that in.
I'm sorry. How is Religion of Speed a miss? We haven't really confronted.
Yeah. Can you roll it back?
That song
I just think it's not that. I just think it's just not that memorable.
That's exactly how I feel. It's like,
What are you talking about?
in the scope of this album, and Jeff, I'm about to piss you right off, even though we're on the same side here. There are a couple of tracks that just kind of come and go. Religion of Speed is one of them. Jeff,
have you listened to the song?
I feel like Religion of Speed and Just As Real But Not As Brightly Lit are the two that like just are okay.
No, Jeff, you just stabbed me in the back before I could get to the song I was gonna say.
Yeah, look at this, folks. They're imploding.
Kyle, we're reeling them in. Come on, it's a good song.
Just As Real But Not As Brightly Lit is one of the best songs on here. Like, that is crazy that you said that, Jeff. Pedal is a miss.
What?
Ooh, I don't agree.
Pedal's a good song. Pedal is a great song.
I don't agree at all.
It's literally so forgettable.
What?
My God,
dude.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe this is why, for me personally, this album is where it's at. Is because there's so many songs on here that people can't agree on if it's a hit or a miss.
Hey, maybe so, but 3 of us agree Pedal is a banger.
Wouldn't an album with the universal praise be higher? Awful Lot. More like Awful Song.
Great song. What? I thought you were about to be like, great song. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And you were like, and you fart noises on me, bro.
Yeah, what the heck, man?
C++ is fine, but I'm it's the new Black Part 7 or whatever, and I'm do something new.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think for having it at 3 is pretty solid. I feel like a lot of people are usually on the same page as Jeff, where they think that this is like the best thing they've ever done, but I don't see that.
Yeah, it's just too inconsistent to be any higher on my list. Like, everything above it is more consistent, because obviously this has shut up. This has the highs of their best albums. Like, it can throw punches there with the best of them with songs like The Coin Has a Say, but it's not consistent.
Every inconsistency you pointed out, every one of us has not agreed with you.
That's a you problem. It's not a me problem.
Inconsistencies are like Pedal is not an inconsistency. Religion of Speed is not an inconsistency. Like, what are we doing?
Religion of Speed is so good. I'm mind blown that you guys weren't like, yeah, great song.
You know what? You know what? Part of it might be.
I'll give it another shot. I'll give it another shot. Yeah.
I won't. I've heard it.
I think after we're done with this, after this, we all need to just sit and listen to it together and realize how good of a song.
Yeah, it'd be great. I probably need to go to sleep after this anyways.
Oh man, that was good. Okay, that was good. I'll give you that. That was actually really good. I'll give you that. That was good. That was a solid diss. I appreciate
that. And like, I came into this thinking this was gonna be towards the top of my list, because like there are great songs on here. I think for me, part of it, in going through this discography chronologically again, obviously big From Parts Unknown guy. Loved the speed, loved the chaos. And you know what? Mm-hmm. They take their foot off the gas a little bit on this album.
They definitely
and you know what?
Yeah.
That's fine. It's a new era of Every Time I Die. This is what I would consider like the last of their 3 eras, the modern metalcore Every Time I Die. And there's a lot to like in it. I just don't like it personally as much as I liked everything they did before it.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's funny. No, I was gonna say it's funny how you think that. What was it you said? That you said From Parts Unknown and X Lives were sister albums. So you said, Nathan. I feel like From Parts Unknown and Low Teens are more similar to each. Like, that's how I like how you felt about those two. I felt about that way.
Interesting, because I grouped their last 2 albums together. Low Teens and Radical feel very kind of similar to me, and then From Parts Unknown and X Lives feel very similar, and then everything before that is like classic Southern metalcore Every Time I Die.
Got you. Okay,
but I mean, like, there are some runs on here. I mean, you're talking Just As Real, 1977 Map Change, like those 3 tracks in a row. I'm kind of like, okay, is this like, these are awesome. I didn't want to join your stupid cult anyways. Banger.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Glitches.
Great song.
Banger. Fear and Trembling, kind of weird, but kind of works.
I love that song.
I don't like the opening of this album that much.
We could not be on more different pages.
Yeah, Fear and Trembling. I was not the biggest.
You don't like the
fan of, for whatever reason.
No, I think that's a highlight of the album, Ryan. I apologize for betraying you, but that that song rules.
I found a way to pull you two apart.
No, I thought we were on the same page here, Kyle. Kyle, I thought we had something.
We were on. We did have a pact, and I've ruined it.
But
yeah,
Nathan, I think you grouping Radical and Low Teens together is into this new era, I think is the reason why I have this so high. Is I just enjoy this new era quite a bit. I like that they slowed it down. I kind of like the more mature feel that this album has, and you can feel free to disagree with me on that. But this album, I mean, to me, feels very emotionally mature in a lot of ways. I mean, especially Pedal, which is a song that you don't like, but I feel like that song is very dark and beautiful, which, I'm sure you could find others that are like that, but, especially given the context. So Keith went through like a really, it sounds like a big life event before this album came out. And so that's what Pedal is kind of talking about. And, I think once I learned that song really jumped up just by its emotional impact. Because, at the end it says like, I was born again as a girl, untimely ripped into this world, like referring to what his wife went through at that time. And I don't know, I just think it's beautiful. And I think it's very, very well done. No, but again, I mean, this album is definitely more of a comfort album too. You always got to have a couple of those in your back pocket. And like I said, this was one of the first albums that got me into this kind of music. And so I always go back to it when I know I want to listen to something I'm going to enjoy. So, in hindsight, my number 2 will probably be my number 1 eventually. But right now, Low Teens is still number 1.
Look, I've been playing the heel because I have this lower than all of y'all. I said it at the top. I love this album. Like, there's a lot to like on here. And you're right. It does feel a little bit more mature. And every time I die is like almost one of the prime examples of, I have said in the past, once you get to a certain age, it becomes a lot harder, near impossible even, to make good metal, good pop punk. Like, there's just a certain angst required to do it really well. Mm-hmm. Every Time I Die is kind of the perfect counter argument to that, because they did this thing for many, many years and they did it well till the very end. And like, it's kind of insane how consistently good they were, despite going through sonic changes, despite band member turnover. Like, they were always good and always kind of doing something a little new, reinventing themselves sonically into these 3 distinct eras that I've been talking about. But even though I think there are misses on here, the highs carry. Like, the highs are really good. There are multiple top 10 contenders on this album. And so, like, it's there. It's just not as consistent for me. And the consistency is something I really value, especially when you're talking about albums that are this good. Like, you need to get into the nitty gritty when you're talking about separation of 5 or 6 albums that all scored between 8.1 and 7.8 on my list. There are genuinely 6 albums in that range. No, 7 albums in that range for me. So it's like, okay, we got to get down to brass tacks, get into that nitty gritty and talk about these things. But I do like it. I like this album.
I think this is the one on your list, Nathan, that surprises me the most. That is, you have it as low as you do. Just looking at your list, and I think really the only 2 on your, well, I guess the 2 on your list that I don't understand is how X Lives is higher than Low Teens.
Underwater Bimbos is like the best Every Time I Die song.
One song made you go, yeah, fuck the rest of this album.
That's a good point.
Underwater Bimbos. I Suck Blood.
Another point for Ryan.
Partying Is Such Sweet Sorrow. The Low Road. Drag
Okay.
And I prefer, generally speaking, the heavier, faster songs. That heavier, faster era of Every Time I Die. I actually really, as recently as preparing for this episode, jumped ahead of modern Every Time I Die for me.
Okay.
So
great album. Let's keep it rolling.
Number 2, I'm gonna have to go with Radical.
Honesty's not a virtue when you're a lying piece of shit.
And
yes, you did. That was the right choice, I fear. And you know what?
it's the right choice. Number 7 versus number 1, and then two other twos. How are you talking about?
The reason this is so low on my list, since I've been questioned so early, is just the lack of emotional attachment I have to this album. Like, it's like I said earlier, as soon as we get to 7, this ranking gets really hard for me. But this album, more consistent than Low Teens. I like that. That's good. It doesn't have the top 10 contenders song, in my opinion. There are some that are close. But I would give up. Jeff, I'll use your argument. If you were to send me to a deserted island, this would be the first album I would give up out of this discography, barring those two at the very bottom. Because I just don't.
So it'd be the third album you give up in this discography.
The second real one, if you want to talk about their canon. But
good callback.
I might. No, I wouldn't give this up before Hot Damn, but it would be a question. I would consider it.
Oh my God.
Only because they're just songs that I have more emotional attachment to. Like, and that's where my nostalgia comes in, like Jeff was talking about earlier. But like, these songs just don't mean as much to me. And I love some of the songs on here. Planet Shit is crazy.
That song is bonkers.
Planet Shit is a great
That is
song.
probably the closest to a top 10 contender on this album. That said, though, All This in War with Josh from 68 is incredible.
All This in War is I'm happy you said that. All This in War is a great fucking
song. Is awesome.
And that might be number 1.
That might be the best song on the album. I don't know, but
I knew you were gonna say that, Kyle. I knew you, 68 truther. I knew you were gonna say that.
Calling me a 68 truther when
ain't that the pot calling the kettle?
You're the one who introduced. You love 68.
I do.
You absolute scum.
I do. Distress Rehearsal is also excellent.
I feel like this album is, to me at least, almost perfect. Once again, until like the very end, like the last like 3 songs or whatever on this album, I just was like, after Distress Rehearsal, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, they should have ended there.
Dude, and you know what's crazy? There's a full length album's worth of like really good songs on here that are really fun, that are Every Time I Die doing their modern thing and doing it really well. Like, there's 11 songs in a row. I mean, you start at Planet Shit and go through Distress Rehearsal. If that's the whole album, this might have gotten bumped up on my list. Like, that would.
You didn't like Dark Distance or Sly?
They're all right. They don't move the needle for me. They don't move the needle for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But you hit those 11 tracks in the middle, and I'm like, wow, they're on an insane roll for that bit of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about marketing for a second, Nathan.
No, that's my thing.
So okay. Allow me to try, please. Allow me to try.
I'll allow it.
So this is a send-off album. And first off, I just want to say the fact that it's called Radical is pretty cool, because I mean, all the lyrics on here are very radical. You know, I just think that that's a really, really cool motif that they have going throughout the album. It's like every single lyric has to be the most extreme we can. Like the beginning of this album, like, save only the ones I love and you can slay everyone else. Like, just slay the rest of them. Like, I feel like every single lyric on here kind of calls back to just being radical. We're going to do the most extreme thing possible. And then when you get down to the very last song, We Go Together, what a wonderful send-off. Because what is more radical than solipsism? What is more radical than you thinking that this entire reality that exists is just something you made up in your head? I just think that's really cool. I don't know if that was intended or not. If it was, they deserve all the credit, because that is, I just think, great songwriting, great album construction. But to end your entire discography basically questioning existence itself, I think is really cool.
God dang, Jeff, we got to have you back on this. I mean, That's such a cool analysis, and yeah,
Let's give him a golf clap.
Yeah, we should after the Masters.
No,
But every single song, and I do disagree, Nathan. I think you said the last 3 songs lose you. I think Sex is awesome. I think there are timing things, and the speed and energy of that song is fantastic. But Jeff, I don't want to lose your point. That is not something that ever crossed my mind. I will be listening to that tomorrow in the scope of that point you just made, because that is fascinating, and that would make me like this album even more. And it's my number 1. I do not think there's a miss on this album. I think this is them at their most emotional, most profound, and best. I love the bass lines, I love the guitar riffs, and I think the vocals are fantastic. And so for that kind of radical motif, Jeff, that would put it even higher regard with me, because that's brilliant.
No, you should listen to that, because I feel like every song is tying back into the idea of being radical. Like Colossal Wreck, give it all back to the animals. Like there's no half measures. Everything is going to the full, to the most extreme. And quick tangent, I think White Void is possibly their best chorus in their entire discography.
Yeah, that song does have a great chorus.
That song was on repeat for me for a long time.
Thing with Feathers is also a really cool
Thing with Feathers.
That's
I was
great
just
song.
gonna say,
Gosh.
that
song charges up and then kind of explodes, but contains itself. You don't hear Every Time I Die do melodies, and you don't hear them do it super well throughout their discography. So when they do it well, like in Thing with Feathers, it is special. And just with all this and war and hostile architecture surrounding that song makes it, honestly, to me, even more special.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say something, and I don't know if this is gonna make any sense, but I feel like this is what X Lives wanted to sound like.
Thank God it didn't.
Way to ruin a profound take.
I'm sorry. Run that back. I'm sorry. Dude, take 2. Try that again.
No, that was perfect. Honestly, I like that you said that better than anyone else going, yeah. But other than him saying that, does anybody understand what I mean when I say that? Like, does that?
I think so, yeah.
I don't know why, and I can't say because A, B, and C or whatever. I just feel like that's what they wanted this to sound like in a way. I don't know.
See, I just think this and X Lives are so sonically different.
They are 100%.
Like instrumentally, like a completely different style almost. It's like less riff heavy, more drum focused, more speed focused, and this is more like, oh, what a weird timing, what a weird riff, what a weird, all that kind of stuff. And I love that. I'm not saying either one of those is better or worse than the other in this moment, but like they just feel so different. Like this almost feels like low teens to an X Lives sound was almost fully realized on From Parts Unknown.
Yeah, but if you're not talking about sonical construction and you're just talking about the fact that on Radical and X Lives, like each song, you don't know what you're going to get next. If that's what you mean, then I completely agree.
Yes.
Well, I think that's true of most Every Time I Die albums.
I don't agree with that at all. Actually,
That's
I
also.
I agree with that.
I mean, yeah.
You're telling me if you heard if there's room to move, things move, and you're like, I know what more is going to sound like.
Well, of course there are examples. Of course, you could pick out singular examples, but in terms of an entire album construction, I think for most of the albums that we talked about, there are sections where it's mostly just hardcore, like back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I do think they've always kind of thrown in left turns, and you never exactly know where the album's going, but they do that on here, no doubt.
But I feel like X Lives and Radical, to Ryan's point, I mean, if that's what you mean, Ryan, then I definitely agree with that.
No, that's 100% what I mean. Is kind of like you don't exactly know what's coming like next, and they just kind of did like weird different elements on both of them, but I think they did it better on Radical than they did on X Lives.
I also think Radical has one of their best breakdowns in The Whip.
The Whip is
that
awesome.
out as well.
Also great.
The Whip has a breakdown that
crazy.
Oh, dude, I feel it in my pants. It's so big. It's such a big.
Not in your ears. Not in your ears. You feel it in your pants.
It's so big, is what you just said.
No, that's not what I mean. Obviously. All right, folks. I just want to let's end on a positive note. This album is awesome. It's my favorite Every Time I Die album.
Yeah, I think it's also going to be mine eventually. Nathan, like you said, like it's kind of fresh. I don't really have an emotional connection to it, but I think over time, I think this album does so much right that it'll move to my number one.
Dude, I think part of this for me, part of this album is like once Every Time I Die did implode shortly after this album came out, that left a really weird taste in my mouth for a little bit. So I think this album will always kind of be tied to that whole weird situation that kind of came out of nowhere. And so I think this album is just kind of unfortunately tethered to that a little bit. And maybe with time, that won't matter as much. And there are some really great songs on here. But just relative to every other album, like it's hard. It doesn't have the highs and it doesn't have the emotional connection that I have to those other albums that I've had more time with, which is, maybe unfair nostalgia, but it is what it is. So on that note, what is number one?
Gutter Phenomenon.
When the noble rapids of sadness she gave for us, for into our hands of lawlessness, never minded the faithless courage, the shame, or the bravery of oblivion. When I'm bound, her mind, never coming back. So time is what it takes. Then we'll.
Let's go.
Gutter Phenomenon. Okay, let me say this. Let me start here. So, I definitely have a bias with this because this was the first Every Time I Die album I ever heard. And this was the album that made me be like, what the fuck is this? What am I listening to? This is crazy. And I love it. But it still, to me, stands the test of time. I mean, literally like every song on here. Apocalypse Now and Then, fucking banger. Kill the Music, fucking banger.
Yep.
Board Stiff.
Yep.
Board Stiff, banger.
Keep going.
Easy Tiger, banger. Tuscan Temper.
Yep.
Probably my banger, but also too probably my favorite Every Time I Die breakdown ever at the end of that song. It's simple. It's this album came out in 2006. That is the breakdown you hear in 2006.
It's not a bad take.
Good. That track is
the new black.
The new black one.
Part the new black part one. Great. Fucking champing at the bit. I think in that song, I think the lyric that he says, which is crazy, is there's a shark in the stream where the newborns are baptized.
Crazy.
What the fuck did you just say to me, Keith? There's a shark in the stream where the newborns are baptized. I don't want to baptize my baby in there, but that's crazy.
Keith is the funniest dude of all time.
Dude, that's such a. I've always loved that line. There's a shark. I'll say it again. There's a shark in the stream where the newborns are baptized. That's just insane. Then Guitar'd and Feather. I mean, Gloom and How It Gets the Way is it's all right. But then Guitar'd and Feather is also great.
Guitar'd and Feather is wild.
Guitar'd and Feather is a fucking great song. And then Lost or Not, it's like all right, pretty dirty, pretty sick way to end the album, whatever. But I just feel dirty. Like. This album is a fucking
more like the big.
This album, I feel like, is just such like a.
Sorry.
Shut up.
All right, come on.
All right.
I feel like this album is just like a party album. Like you put this album on, and you just start fucking drinking Coors Light with your boys and shit, and you're just like, let's do it. And I don't know. I fucking love this album. And is it because it's the first Every Time I Die album I ever heard? Yes, but. I fucking stand by and I don't care what anyone says.
I will not disagree with you because it's my second favorite Every Time I Die album, which is funny. I thought this was going to be my hot take into my two compatriots, Nathan and Jeff. It is, but I couldn't agree with you more, Ryan.
They're wrong. That's all that matters, all right?
I said earlier 5 could jump to 1 and I wouldn't be upset. This is 5.
All right.
Okay, you are right. You did say that, but Jeff, you're the odd man out here.
Jeff, you are the odd man out, and let me say my piece, and then I'll pass it to you.
Okay,
you heathen.
Whoa.
Apocalypse Now and Then is one of my favorite openers.
Yeah, that's good.
By Every Time I Die, maybe it would be my favorite if I put a little more thought to it. But I love that song. Kill the Music, like you mentioned, Ryan, is awesome. I can't get past Tusk and Temper. That song feels like it is.
Are you serious?
Oh, I love that song. I love that.
Oh, I thought you meant like you can't listen to it. Okay, my bad. I misheard you on that one. Tuscan Temper is fucking
I'm sure
great.
I misspoke, but it feels like that is the song that's sort of the gateway to. I mean, it just feels like something breaks through for Every Time I Die for the rest of their discography is in Tusk and Temper, and I can't get enough of that song. I love it. I mean, that's a top 3 song for me. It might not make the top 3. Again, that's and I didn't listen to Every Time I Die much before preparing for this episode. I did listen to Gutter Phenomenon in college, and I do remember, and I have had Tuscan Temper downloaded on my phone forever. And again, it feels like sort of this gateway to Every Time I Die venturing into new territory. It is awesome. That's the piece I'll say that you haven't already said, Ryan, is if you haven't heard anything off this album, listen to Tuscan Temper. I think it's funny. Kill the Music does sound like a My Chemical Romance song in a lot of parts. That's just a side thought, a side note. But yeah, that's what I got. I love this album.
I mean, this album did come out when My Chemical Romance was blowing the fuck up. So
it wouldn't be shocking.
Getting Gerard on that song the same year that the Black Parade came out is crazy to me. Like,
wait, that's actually Gerard?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow, I didn't either.
I didn't even fucking know.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no shit. No. Well, in my notes, I'm like, yo, Kill the Music.
Wait,
CR song.
wait. I'm looking this up. There's no way. I mean, I believe you, but I now have to look it up myself.
That's hilarious, dude. I literally was like, this is wild. That's the wow.
Oh shit.
Yeah. That's he's right.
Yeah.
No, that feature is nuts. And it's like, it's similar to like the Brendan Urie feature where it's like so seemingly random, but it works so well. And like, I had always known that was Gerard, and it sounds awesome. He fits the track perfectly. What shocked me was I always assumed it was more like closer to 3 Cheers Gerard, just based on the way he sounds. But it's the same year as the Black Parade, which is crazy to me. Wow. Because it does not sound like Black Parade Gerard at all. Like, it's so sick.
That is crazy. That's wild.
Yeah, that song and that feature, like one of the highlight moments on the album for me. That song is unreal. It's so good. Bored Stiff after it is also great. But the 3-track run that is Tuscan Temper, The New Black, and Champing at the Bit is just stupid levels of excellent music. It is so good. And that, I think, those 4 tracks that I just mentioned are really the highlight of the album for me. And the second half has great moments as well, especially with those last 2 tracks. But it does lull a little bit with Gloom and Guitared and Feathered, in my opinion. But when this album's hitting, it's hitting like any Every Time I Die album. But geez, man, it's like the strength of this discography. When I listened to this, when I was preparing for this, I was like, oh shoot, is this my favorite Every Time I Die album? Like, this is pretty remarkably consistent. But alas, it was not meant to be because they have so many consistent albums, it turns out. But this album is really, really strong. It's so good.
Yeah, for me, having it down at number 7, I think it's more of a victim of just their discography being so solid than it is the album actually being bad. I really enjoy Gutter Phenomena. I think it's a good album. I definitely enjoy it more than Last Night in Town and From Parts Unknown for sure. I think the first thing that I would note is that compared to the album that came before it and the one that comes after it, and Nathan used this term or phrase before, but it kind of sounds like they recorded it all in a single channel. I don't know. To me, they kind of lost the fullness of the sound that they regained in the album after this and had previously. It's just kind of lost on this album. So everything just feels a little flat to me.
The production is a little flat, but I think it's more of a victim of the time it came out than anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But then in that case, I don't think it has aged particularly well then, even compared to Hot Damn, which I think, like we said, the production actually enhances that album. Where here, I think it kind of takes away a little bit.
Interesting.
The other reason why I have this so low is I really don't like Guitarred and Feathered, and I really don't like La Astronaut. I think those songs are really not good.
Mm.
Especially La Astronaut with like the scratching guitar sound. And I don't know if I was the only one that picked up on that, but that was pretty grating.
I like that song.
I like that song. It's a great song, actually.
I'll accept the hate on La Astronaut, but I will not accept the hate on Guitarred and Feathered.
I agree.
I don't know.
Actually, I don't agree.
That's
I
what
won't accept it on either.
I don't know. Guitarred and Feathered.
And then I really love Pretty Dirty. I love The New Black, like we already talked about. Easy Tiger is another standout track to me. I think the background riff is so nasty in that song. But, you know, I just, besides those three, and those are great songs, there's not really like a huge standout 10 out of 10 track to me on this album. And so, you know, with all those factors.
Whoa. You're saying The New Black is
not even The New Black Part 1?
New
Part
Black
1?
original flavor is not like a 10 out of 10 to you?
It's close.
That's crazy. That's borderline like 11 out of 10 for me. Like that song is perfect.
I wouldn't go that far. You know, it's close. It's good. But again, compared to their other albums where I can really pick out like these, this is definitely going to end up in my top 10 list. I could easily not include a song from Gutter Phenomenon in my top 10.
You're wrong for that. You're wrong for that.
Okay.
That's like, that's wrong. The New Black is quintessential Every Time I Die, and we will not be making a top 10 list over on our Patreon. Go check that out, link in description, without said song. Like,
but Nathan, how many Radical songs would you have in their top 10 though?
Maybe one.
Good question.
Maybe back.
One. I would have like, you know, I could argue 2 or 3.
Well, that's not happening, but we'll get there. We'll circle back.
We'll get there. No spoilers.
But yeah, those are my thoughts for Gutter Phenomena.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I think that's all I got to really say about Gutter Phenomenon right now. Actually, no, actually, quick little story. The first time I saw Every Time I Die, I was in 8th grade, and I had to go to the concert with my older brother because obviously my parents wouldn't let me go when I'm in 8th fucking grade. And Every Time I Die opened, and I think the headliner was Atreyu, and then Chiodos was co-headlining, and Every Time I Die opened.
That's a sick headline.
And Gutter Phenomenon had like just come out because I was in 8th grade, and this album came out 2006.
Yeah,
so that makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, and or maybe it had just come out before this. So I wouldn't. Yeah. Anyways, point is, I saw them in 8th grade, and it was fucking crazy. And I feel like that was the concert that really made me. When I literally watching Keith scream made me go like, I want to fucking do that, because this was the first concert I'd ever been to in my entire life, other than like, you know, random little kid shit that my parents brought me to. But that wasn't a concert. But seeing Keith like up there screaming, just controlling the crowd, is what made me be like, I want to fucking do that shit right there.
Every Time I Die is one of the best live bands in metalcore history.
I've seen it, so good. I've seen them so many times. They're so good.
I saw them. I had the pleasure of seeing them a couple times, and every single time they freaking blew the roof off the place. They were so good live, dude.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Well, guys, I think that about does it. So to wrap this up,
that was a blast.
That was a great time. Ryan, to close this thing out, will you run through your list from your least favorite to your favorite? And just as a little aside, this will be our first promotion for the episode on like TikTok and Instagram and all that. So run us through what you got, big fella.
Okay. My number 9 is Last Night in Town. My number 8 is Hot Damn. My number 7 is X Lives. My number 6 is From Parts Unknown. My number 5 is Big Dirty. My number 4 is New Junk Aesthetic. Number 3, Low Teens. Number 2, Radical. And number 1, Gutter Phenomenon.
Brilliant. And guys, we got one more thing to do before we send this thing out of here. And that is our Patreon diehards have sent us their Every Time I Die rankings.
Ooh, I want to hear this.
Yeah. And so if you join our second tier over on our Patreon, you have the opportunity to know the band ahead of time, as actually all of our patrons do. But beyond that, you can send me a recording of you reading off your list and we'll play it on the show, talk a little bit about it. And so this first one is going to be from Derek. He's been a longtime patron. He sent us a lot of lists. And I'm very curious to see how this goes because I was actually talking to these guys a little bit. And they, I believe they said, did not have much experience with Every Time I Die prior to getting ready for sending me their list. And so I feel like these could truly be anything. So let me pull it up on my phone and I'll just play it into the mic for y'all.
From worst to best. Last Night in Town, X Lives, The Big Dirty, Gutter Phenomenon, Hot Damn, From Parts Unknown, New Junk Aesthetic, Low Teens, and Radical. Cheers, boys.
He sent us that list from a tornado, it sounds like.
Hey, cheers. Hey, Radical, Low Teens in the top 2. Can't go wrong.
Where did he have?
It was pretty high up. It was like number 4.
What did he say?
Had
Was
it
that like
relatively high?
He had it. He had it like 5. I thought it was 5. It sounded like
it was in the 4 or 5 range, which is
I think he had it higher than all of us.
I think he did too.
Yeah, I think he had it higher than all of it. Yeah, hot damn. I mean, yeah.
He started off real hot, but in X Lives at 8, I think I was like, hey.
Yeah.
Hey.
That didn't hurt me. But.
No, it sure didn't, Mr. X Lives at 7.
Shut up, Mr. Radical at 7.
For real.
All right, let's keep moving.
Yes, Seth. This next one from a new patron. His name is Lucas Rollins. He sent us his list, and it goes a little bit like this.
Okay, in 9th place, I have Gutter Phenomenon. In 8th, I have Last Night in Town. 7th is New Junk Aesthetic. 6 is From Parts Unknown. 5 is The Big Dirty. 4 is X Lives. 3 is Radical. 2 is Hot Damn. And then Low Teens in first place. All right, thank you.
Dude, that cracked me up when he said number 9.
If you guys saw my face, if I camera that, my jaw dropped to the floor when he said Gutter Phenomenon was 9, and then the fact that he said that I heard him say Last Night in Town after Gutter Phenomenon, I was like,
and
what
Hot Damn at 2.
Yeah, Hot Damn at 2. I've heard that before. I've heard a lot of people say Hot Damn is like one of their favorites.
That doesn't surprise me as much.
Yeah, that wasn't but Gutter Phenomenon below Last Night in Town is crazy.
That's so funny.
There is, respectfully, Lucas, there is no reason Last Night in Town should be above an album with The New Black on it. That song alone pulls it above Last Night in Town. Part 1.
Part 1, dude.
Original formula.
Yeah.
And we also have another patron. His name's Seth, who has not sent me his list. But if he does send it to me, I will still include it in the episode if I get it before the episode comes out. Sorry, we didn't get a chance to react to it in any capacity, Seth. But all that said, we appreciate y'all a lot, and we appreciate all our patrons so much for their ongoing support of the show. It means a lot to us. And so with that said, fellas, that was the Every Time I Die episode. Long awaited by me. And I'm glad.
Thank you, Ryan.
And I'm glad I got bullied the entire time.
That was a blast.
No, thank you guys for having me. This was awesome. Like I said in the beginning, I wanted to do this episode with you guys so long. When I first found out about you guys, I was like, if I ever do this podcast, this is the band I'm doing. And I'm very thankful that no one picked it before me. And I'm very surprised no one reached out to you guys to do this before. So
yeah,
I feel honored that I got to be the guy.
We were honored that you were here. We really do appreciate you coming on, spending your evening with us. It was a lot of fun.
Of course. Thank you guys again.
So with that, thank you, of course, also to everyone who listened all the way through this episode. We appreciate y'all, and we will see y'all on the next one.